Okay, we're back. Hopefully,
that was quick, yeah.
yeah. Hopefully, we are back up and like we are. Just to give you some insight, so we're getting a new lease line coming in a week or so's time. So we won't be having any of these bothers moving forwards. So where were we?
I completely forgot.
Okay, I remember.
Oh no, we're
different weight iron
you remember?
shafts.
Yeah.
Never mind. Okay,
Come on,
chance
guys. This
Different
is the
way
question
on.
I was, yes, yeah, good job. I appreciate that. Thanks for the cue. I had no idea. Yes, so when we made the Axiom, the original reason we came out with it was to try to lure better players. So not just better players, but harder swingers, guys that think graphite is for old men. I'll never play that. Guys, when I go to the course, and well, I'm an old man. So my boss, young guy, hits it a ton, pulls out his iron. Oh, nice old man shaft. You know, the whole thing that we go through when we see graphite iron shafts. So we wanted to come out with a 125, a heavy, a TX, and X, and just start giving it to better players. We thought about that in-house, and we thought, well, the sales of that will probably be outnumbered by the freebies we give away within the industry. So we said, we have to have something to generate sales out of this. So we came out with a 105, and then internally we thought, well, who are these, I mean, who buys graphite iron shafts now, right? And then I'm going to go back, and you're going to say, see, old man shaft. But middle-aged, older guys, 75, 65 gram. No, I'm not looking at you for any other reason than you're here.
Okay, Chad. Because I was starting.
See,
look this
but
way.
you see where the stigma comes from, right? Immediately. Like you can look at me and say, you hit graphite, and I'll say, straight I do hit graphite, because they're awesome.
But we're getting more
With
people,
hands on hips with pink t-shirt on.
much,
Damn
much
it, I
more-
hit graphite. Anyway,
We're getting many more people asking about graphite.
yeah, and that's
Of any
our goal, right? And so if we can convince by getting better players to play graphite, and that includes tour, then that's the trickle-down theory. I remember when most players were playing steel in their driver, right? Right? And so now all of a sudden, is Tiger an old man? Is Rory an old man because he's playing graphite in his driver? No, I don't think so. So we did design originally a 65, 75, 85, 95, 105, 115, and 125. So we have the designs ready to go. What we wanted to do is kind of get the voice of customer, the voice of the fitter, and say, what do we need to add? Because you're looking at a lot of parts in our warehouse. We're going to bring these out in taper tip as well. So that's now 8 individual SKUs times all the flexes times all the weights. So we didn't want to inundate ourselves internally. So we brought out the 75, the 105, and the 125. So now we're kind of just getting feedback on what weights we need to add. As the designs are there, they're set to go. We just want to launch them. So it would help from your crew that watch this. Tell us, tell your fitter, tell your FUJIKURA rep or your FUJIKURA fitter what you want to see, and that'll have an influence on what we bring out next. And eventually, who knows? It could be everything.
It's interesting you mentioned the taper tip, because currently there are the three different shaft types. So the key thing with the Velocore material is that, which the Axiom shafts have, clearly, because they're part of the sort of Ventus continuation, but is that you don't want to take too much off the tip. So on a parallel shaft, you've got to tip trim it to get the flex stiffer, but with Velocore, if you tip trim it, you're taking the stiff material out, you weaken it. So you've already got an element of progression within that range, whereas most companies would launch an iron shaft and it would just be a unitized shaft. So,
So we'll just
we still up, or?
I've got the wrong mouse.
Oh, he's got the wrong mouse. Okay, yeah. I thought the signal had dropped here. So there's already that bit of progression, but going full taper tip then means 3-iron shaft, 4-iron shaft, 5-iron shaft, 6-iron shaft.
Correct.
Et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, correct.
So,
And so the reason we do that three-part system is to keep a constant weight in the shaft, right?
Yeah.
To keep more material. So we're going full-length Velocore material in the Axiom shaft, and we think, how we've done it in the past is we do a 6-inch parallel tip, right? And so you tip up to 4.5 inches for your pitching wedge. If I had to watch someone waste that much Velocore material, I would throw up and have nightmares. So we're saying that the most you take off that is 1 inch, then at least I can sleep at night, keep my food down, and then we can keep more of the technology and the material in the shaft rather than just having you cut it off and waste it. So
Daniel Lane here says currently using Ventus Blue HB9X, but back end of a round can feel like it's quite heavy and hard work. I mean, apart from getting in the gym, hydrating and eating more, what can he do?
you just stole all my answers, right?
Sorry,
Like,
sorry.
Like you got a little core work. I mean, the obvious there, and we're not making fun. I get tired just getting out of bed in the morning, Daniel. So, you know, honestly, is maybe go to an 80. Obviously, lighten that load. Potentially go into an S-Flex. I mean, all those are easier to load, easier to keep moving as the round gets longer and progresses. But yeah, you hit them all, right? Get more rest, eat better, and get a little gym workout every now and then. Although I'm sure he's in great shape and hitting it great.
Yeah, I think we've touched on Brian McAllister's 105, but it's just a little bit too light. But he suspects the 125s will be a bit heavy. I think you mentioned about that.
It's a big jump up. 20 grams is a 20% huge jump up. I mean, we see 5 grams as a noticeable change in shaft weight. So, and this goes back to exactly the same point that Daniel's making there, is that if you get the weight wrong, you're compromising your action somewhere along the line, either by having to rein it back by going too light, or having to hammer the hell out of it to make it work. And then you're actually not getting the best out of the product. So, you know, by not just by looking at a club speed, not just looking at what Rory plays, actually going somewhere, whether it be here or anywhere that you can test them and work out why something works best, then you're actually getting the performance that you've chosen the shaft for and benefiting from the technology, rather than hitting it, finding it doesn't work and going, oh, that didn't work, that's awful. It's not, it's just inappropriate for you. So get it right for you, and then you get all those benefits, like, you know, the consistency, the stability off center that the Ventus and the Velocore material gives. All of that just all comes together, and then it sings
Beautifully. Norwegian Warhound is a bit of a regular of ours. I mean,
How good is that?
handle? I mean, you need a handle in that in the world. Don't
How
you?
good is that? That's well done, Norwegian. War God, that's amazing. Or Warhound.
What?
Beautiful.
He's no god, but he's.
I'll tell you
certainly
what,
hound.
though, I would come up with something much more dirty, so you'd have to read it. You know, we're getting a question from.
Sure, we'll know it's you.
So I'm gonna make 3 or 4 of them now from now on. And you have to read them.
You can come back, Chad. So Norwegian Warhound asks, exotic materials. What's going on in terms of development of more exotic materials in shafts, or are you steadfast in where you're at material-wise?
Well, I think the first thing is what would you define as exotic materials? So I guess from your standpoint, what would be, when people say exotic materials to you, what does that make you kind of think from the products that you use and the materials you use?
That's a good question.
No, there's on Norwegian's question.
Yeah, we'll get back to you, Norwegian. Hang tight, my friend.
Well, let's start with Norwegian.
Let's
first.
start with Norwegian.
Let's start with Norwegian.
Let's
He
start
asked
with
it. Simon,
I get to ask questions every
Simon,
week, so-
Peter.
We'll hit it. That's a good question.
So let's go with Norwegian. So how much effort will be placed into new and exotic materials for shafts going forward?
Massive effort. That's all Fujikura does. In fact, if you're on the outside looking in, I would hope that everyone would recognize that we are the leaders in exotic material usage. Pitch 70 wasn't used. T1100G, which you guys may know of from another shaft brand. Maybe not you, but you, I'm sure. We were using that material 3 years before they used it. So I guess you could say marketing mistake on our part, because I guess that resonated with consumers. But we've been looking at new and exotic material from the Techstream material that we used in the Blur shaft. We started with a triax. We had the 5 different directionality in the rhombacks. We've used spread woven tapes to the pitch 70 material. So we're constantly looking for the next material. We have material suppliers right now that we just, I don't want to say we contract, but they know that we will gravitate and use heavy amounts of exotic, expensive material if it's proven out to work and benefit. So we have guys giving us material all the time. So we're constantly rolling parts with new exotic materials. Now, what I would deem exotic, there are a few materials that are used in almost 90% of shafts on the planet. What we use, we call T700, T800. And so that's your basic standard graphite material. Anything above and beyond that, I start moving into exotic material. So that could be multi-directional, that could be heavy fiber content, that could be less resin content.
But these are all still graphites, but they're just different composites of graphite.
Different tensile strengths, different strands per square meter.
And that's where the 40-70 comes from.
Correct. Different directionalities. So graphite could be a braided material where it's like a bar of multi-strands and then weaved. You could flatten that out and have spread tape. So yes, it's all composite material. That's all we work in. But it is different strengths, different layups, different directionalities of material. There's even material that we're using. Well, so I guess I can back that up. We've used Kevlar in the past. We've used different materials that don't necessarily use carbon, but that's mainly our focus. It's harder to integrate non-carbon materials into a carbon shaft than it is to not.
So I think on Simon's point was really quite interesting, is that when we think, like if someone said, could you use some exotic materials in the shaft, I'm thinking, oh, what, you've got to get some diamond in there or some sapphire, whatever. But what we're actually saying is it's just how the carbon is built and structured, more than we're going to bin carbon and go to Kevlar.
Yeah.
That's
We're not using unobtainium for our next line of shafts.
Absolutely.
But we're working with that right now. It's hard to get though.
I think what it boils down is actually the graphite component and the structure of graphite as a material works really well. And it has lots of versatility, it has lots of usages. And so some of those different ways of the material being formed and put into a shaft you can put different multi-types into the same shaft to promote a particular performance characteristic. Hence, having the different ranges, whether it's a Speeder NX or a Vista Pro or Matori or the Ventus. There are so many different forms of it that actually, I guess actually sometimes it might be quite hard to work out kind of, I guess when you're defining a new line, that might almost be easier than reimagining an old one, if that, or kind of the development on an old one. If that was a question.
Was it a question or were we just talking?
Semi-statement, but still a
Yes,
question.
I was told to be short, yes.
Yeah, correct.
So Brian McAllister says, could you double soft step the current Axiom 125X to get closer? I can see the shaking of the head in the background, to get a stiff rated profile.
No.
No.
So you have a 3-inch parallel tip section. You have a 3 different skew mix, right? Short, middle, long. I'm sure that there's a way. If you know an engineer, maybe work with that. I don't know, but in our testing, once you start going too much, now you're going to move longs up to or longs to mids. How many you do that? So long story short, we suggest a 1/2 inch soft step or hard step is as much as you can do.
Which is a one shaft step.
Which is going to be about a 1/2 flex.
But that's going to be easier when you get to the full taper tip, whereas the current one is a little bit more difficult. Because it's
but even the full taper tip, what we're going to do in house is just do that at the factory, right? So we're gonna tip trim it, then taper it, and then send it in. So you still won't have that luxury of a soft step a taper twice, because you're going to run out of material, right? And then once let's say you hard step it and you do more so tipping than you need to, or you should, now you're running into durability issues, right? Now you take a digger and it breaks, you're going to call Precision, you're going to call Fuji, how much did you tip trim? 2 inches. Well, now you're past the durability of the shaft, which I don't want to cover that for everybody. No. So there's that. Yeah.
So I've got 4 shafts here. Got the Ventus black, red, blue, and the Matori. Give us a little insight into the differences of the black, red, and blue.
It's actually quite good that you brought in a blue TR as well, because that's a slightly different series. So that was
yes.
Let's pretend it's blue.
Well, there's TR in all 3 of these, isn't there?
good intel.
Okay.
Is that right? There's a blue,
No.
a blue and a blue TR, and a red and a red TR, black and a black TR.
Yes.
Hey,
Yes.
See, a good
Starts
host,
at a 10.
a good host always researches
Yeah. You're on top of your game, and I'm
the guest.
right as I say that.
Yeah,
You almost
right,
take my
above
eye
it, yeah,
out. That's
okay.
fine. I heard.
So effectively, we see 3 shafts, but actually there's 6
Correct.
shafts.
Correct.
Yeah. So give us an insight into the blue and then the blue TR,
All
and
right.
red and
Well,
red TR.
simply put, black is the lowest launch, lowest spin of the 3. Blue is the mid-launch, mid-spin of the 3, and then the red is the, I hate saying this, let's call it a mid-launch. So when we introduce these, just side note, our marketing team had to differentiate between the flights, so they called it low, mid, high. These are all tour-oriented shafts. So the red is not a high ball flight because it scared a lot of people off. You know, a lot of better players say, oh, that's a high ball flight, I can't hit that. But it's actually more of a mid ball flight, mid-low spin. But for us, in comparison to each other, the red is the higher of the three. So essentially it's a 3-flight system. What we did based on listening to tour players' feedback with the TR is we put an extra piece of high mod material in the handle section, which stiffens it up, lowers the torque a little bit, and then lowers ball flight and spin rate about right in between. And I'm not gonna be able to say this. So lowest ball flight, lowest spin rate, black TR. Black OG, we'll call it, is just above that. Blue TR, blue, red TR, red. So you have essentially a 6-ball flight system.
Love it.
And so we have something that can fit pretty much any golfer in that. You know, we got the 50 R2 all the way up to 90 TX. So there's really not many golfers that will walk through your door that is interested in a Ventus, has heard about the Ventus, sees it out there, and is inspired to play the Ventus, so won't be able to hit the Ventus.
I think that's where, as a line addition, where the TR was really was a great move, because actually the original Ventuses, they've got that little bit more give under the handle end, so there's a little bit more feedback through them. And then the TR with the weave at the butt end, then just for someone who's a heavier loader, someone who kind of works the handle a little bit more, it just feels like it holds on a little bit tighter, hence just the flexes going up a bit. So actually from a feel and a sort of feel, flight, and just general kind of stiffness profile point of view, there's so many options within that effectively one range of shafts.
We like to
no
think so.
wonder that so many of the tour players have them in the bag.
And the Matori, where does that sit in the line?
Interesting, the Matori X. We came out with the Matori 10 years ago, hence the X. So Matori X, just a little something for you guys.
I like it.
The Matori X, we took the Velocore technology and the multi-material bias core and just took away some of the high modulus material. So the technology is very similar. We just use different material to make up that bias core, a little less expensive, so we bring it in the marketplace at a little bit better price. But you still get resounding benefits from the Velocore tech, which we can't call Velocore because for us, the Velocore is the pitch 70 and the 40 ton. So now that it's not that material, we can't put Velocore on there, but it uses a lot of the same technology underneath the hood, if you will, as the Ventus shafts, but just in a little bit more affordable price point. And we have an F1, F3. F1 is the low launch, F3 is the high launch. It's similar, again, going back to the Matori from 10 years ago, where we had the F1, F3, just give you 2 different flight patterns. So essentially, great product, a little bit more affordable than this, but you know, some guys gravitate towards that. We got a few of those on tour. It's a solid product. It's kind of unfair to the product. I'm okay?
You're good.
Okay.
You're doing well. No, you have done well. You can let loose now.
Okay. On the Matori X, we launched it kind of right as COVID hit. So the timing for us wasn't great. So COVID hit, we launched it at the PGA show before COVID hit. COVID hit, and then the world shut down. No one did anything for a month, right? Then they started coming back and playing golf. Well, that's right about the time we had the Ventus coming out, or Ventus hitting hot, right? So it came out earlier, but now everyone needed the Ventus, and then Ventus just caught fire. And so the Matori got overlooked for being such a great structure because the Ventus had caught fire, COVID had come out, and everyone just said, let's spend money. We were all getting checks from our government in the United States, so it was, give me 2 Ventus, give me 3, you know. So the Matori, unfortunately, didn't do as well as we'd like it to do. It's still, now it's catching a little bit of momentum based on the fact that a lot of people have Ventus. You go in, you get fit for a Ventus, you can easily fit an F3 into a fairway wood and have a very
F3's a great
compatible feel, compatible technology, but save yourself, you know, $100, about 100 quid. Is that you, Matori?
I got Matori in my fairway wood.
Attaboy.
And I got a Ventus in my hybrid.
Blue
Ventus.
Did no one just notice how I worked in quid?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
I'm
lose the
already-
accent you hear.
Yeah, I can't do one. I got Irish, I got Scottish. Oh, lose mine.
Yeah, lose
No,
yours.
this country has one, no?
Oh, well.
No, I'm kidding. It's my accent. I'm sorry.
You'll own it.
I do
just
own
over
it.
it, yeah.
I do own it. It's funny. I travel quite a bit, and everywhere I go, you know, it took you a while to, when people said you have the accent. And yeah, I guess I do.
Now, something I would really like to ask.
Yeah.
And this sounds a little bit pretentious, shall we say? But how much have you placed importance on the graphics?
Massive.
Yeah. Because take the graphic away, and they all look the same, right? I mean, they would fundamentally, they're not going to look too different. But give me a nice, sexy
They're
graphic.
round tubes.
Yeah, absolutely, right. But give me a sexy graphic. I need that on the end of my
1,000%.
stick.
We have some of the longest and most vibrant conversations within the walls of FUJIKURA when it comes to graphics and naming. No one likes the same thing, right? So we like pink, you don't, right?
Got it.
I may want some stripes, he doesn't, right? So we sit in now with
These
our
have even
core
got
group.
socks on that are pink.
We go.
Don't even go
I
there.
love those shoes, by the way. We go in with a core group of 5, 6 guys.
Appreciation.
Yeah. At FUJIKURA, and it's come to blows. Well, just short of blows, many a time over naming and color. And even when you think about it, because people go, "Oh yeah, it's blue." Well, if you go into the PCS book in cosmetics, and look at color here, you have probably 784 blues, you know. So even when you decide as a group, hey, we're going blue, and then everyone
real
brings in their
stuff.
blue shaft, and they're like, what the hell is that? That's teal. Nah, that's green. That's blue. They, you know, I want it lighter, darker. I want to add metallic flake. So yeah, cosmetics, and I think part in reason this success is it's colorful enough, right, with the base coat.
Yeah.
It's got a little catch, but it's not too over blingy. It's something that you can see on TV, so when Rory's
exactly what I
hitting
was
it, you
gonna
know
say.
exactly what he's hitting, at least in terms of the Ventus, maybe not
Yeah.
the color, but. So for us, it just worked, it clicked, it was the right time. Interesting story too, while I have you, you're gonna kill me yet, aren't you?
Trying.
Just so excited.
Trying.
PTSD is what I'm getting out of living here. The cosmetics, we hired actually an outside service to come in and kind of give us some ideas on what to do with this. And they came in originally, and the girl that did the original band for that, her name was, I won't say it, her name started, first name started with a K, second name started with a K. So she comes in, and I'm looking at the shaft. I'm like, does that say KKK? And you could see like a KKK on it, and I had to go, look, everything looks great, but I think we got a problem here. You know, and I don't know if you guys know, but KKK.
No, I know exactly what
That's a pretty
KKK
good
All right,
idea.
yeah, we're like, we can't be associated with it. What are you doing? So we had her flip some stuff around
Right, got
and
it,
ended
got
up
it.
moving some band. But I think, honestly, it's one of those simplistic decals that have enough catchiness to where it doesn't ward anybody off. No one's going to say, dude, I can't hit that. Like some shafts out there get a little garish, and people go, hey, absolutely not. Or they say absolutely. But no one will fit into one of these shafts and end up saying, I can't hit a black shaft, a red shaft, a blue shaft.
Now, the Matori is not a thinner product than any of the others, is it?
Thinner?
Thinner.
Well, it can get narrower quicker or later, depending on the structure and what they're trying to do with stiffness profiles. And so
But that Matori shaft there is the same thickness as the other three
No, it might
shafts.
not be. So every shaft starts with a mandrel. Mandrel is a metal rod. We have to lay down material over the metal rod. We bake it, we cure it, we bring it out. Now, like Simon was saying, the mandrel can be thicker up top, depending on what we're trying to do at the end of the day. Could be thinner up top, could be thicker down here. Now, a general rule is the heavier the shaft, the thinner the mandrel, right? Because we need to put more material on it to get it to a certain size. For the most part, here is typically the same, right? You don't want to go it's anywhere from 600 to 620 in terms of your butt diameter. The tips are always the same at 335, but in between there and there, you could have differences for sure.
Brilliant. Well, listen, I've learned a lot tonight,
Fantastic.
and your questions have been right on point with duration.
Have we answered everybody that
We've
needs to be
we've-
answered?
We've answered
there was
everyone.
one question that I do, or one point that I do have to answer that was for Martin O'Leary, and then yes, you are correct. I was at Hampton Court looking at cars the other week.
Yeah, I glazed over that because it was a car topic and we're a golf show. So
I just
not
thought answer the
interested,
question.
Not interested.
I wasn't even wearing bright clothes
No,
either.
no,
So, yeah.
clown clothes. Well, listen, Chad, it's been wonderful having
Yeah.
you on. Real great insight. Now,
Deep tech talk.
but deep, yeah, real nerdsville. And I'm not really a sort of a geeky golf. I mean, Mark, Simon, the rest of the lads, I mean, geeky, real dine out on this stuff. Not so much myself. More of a hit it, go straight, that'll do me kind of guy.
Love those kind of golfers.
But honestly, really, really loved hearing what you have to say and learnt a great deal.
I appreciate you having me on. You know, one of the most difficult parts about doing these is not going too deep to where I'm listening to myself thinking this is boring as hell, right? Like,
Not that.
I can't imagine Norwegian Rockhound, Warhound
yeah.
out
They might
there.
change the name now, though.
Well, he's got to change it to something, right? I'm telling you.
War Dog would be a good start.
Let's get better ones. I mean, that one's good, but I mean, let's make these guys read those names live. How about that?
Well, if you've enjoyed Chad's company, which I'm absolutely sure you will have, please subscribe. There's 60% of you that are not subscribed to our channel. And so if you did, we get even greater guests. Not that you're not great.
Yeah,
but
that hurt a little bit. That hurt a little bit.
We'll get like Mitsubishi people in here.
Oh, that's it. I'm out. I'm out.
Joke, Chad.
I
You
know,
are the
I
king.
know.
You're the
Hilarious,
king.
hilarious.
You're the king.
Thank you
You're
guys
the
for
king.
having me. Thank you for your business. Thank you for sharing stuff like this with golfers out there. Every little bit people get their hands on makes them more educated, makes them better players, get them involved. So I appreciate you guys and everything you guys do. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Well, listen, we're going to be back next week and there will be no stream dropouts. We can promise you that. From Simon, Chad, myself, thanks for joining us and we'll see you next week.